I'm Carmise Graves, and I practice family law in the Washington, D.C. area.
Hello, welcome. I got to get right to it because I got so much to do. It's busy. It's a lot happening. Welcome to my weekly broadcast. Humbly, I'm Carmise Graves, attorney, CPA, and I practice family law in Maryland and Washington, D.C. And I try and come on these podcasts just to share some information because look, it's happening. It's all about relationships. It's all about human beings trying to come together and make some love. And sometimes it just doesn't work out. And my job and my mission and the purpose for what I do is to really help people transition out of relationships that don't work while preserving their hope for love to come in the future and not be so disenchanted and blown by the experience, and add some humanity to the process. Because when it comes to divorce, people, it's a real personal thing. And sometimes we judge ourselves for it not working out. So I hope to provide an experience where you grant yourself some grace for it not working out and you restore hope for the future so that you can jump back in there and get love going again for yourself and don't just feel like divorce is the end of your journey for love. Hopefully it is not. But the beginning of the process sometimes starts off with us making the transition. And during this lockdown and this pandemic, what has happened is that transition is happening while people are still living together in the same household. So today I'm going to talk to you about how do you do this transition when you guys are both still living together in the house, some pros, some cons, some things you should really watch out for. And give you some tips on how you can get through this amicably, if at all possible, and the telltale signs if it's not, because that's generally, I'm just coming to you with what's actually happening, what the conversations are sounding like during the consultations, because sometimes I get called, Miss Graves, I'm not going to pay you no money just to ask you questions. I'm like, why not? You ain't got the answers. You ain't want to rely on Google. You wanted to talk to the professional. Remember all them books you ain't want to read and them tests you ain't want to take? Remember that? How you gonna tell me? Let me don't get on that. Don't let me get on that. But nonetheless, y'all don't treat the doctors like that. You get your insurance card out and pay them people what they got to be paid to answer questions. When it comes to this information regarding rights, your entitlements, your property, your children, I think it's a good investment to understand actually how the law impacts your case. Because legal analysis isn't just about knowing the black letter law, as we call it. That's just knowing what the rule is. Legal analysis is doing the application of the law to your situation and understanding whether, it's a problem that can be resolved and how that might look. But to that, so hopefully you do see some value in that, because we have invested, as professionals, lawyers, we've invested the time, and really what you're paying for it is just the experience. How many times have you done it? I've done it a gazillion more times, just talking to someone that has the information that can kind of guide you, help you plan, because you want to develop an exit strategy that makes sense, that doesn't negatively impact future entitlements or what might happen to your case. So in this scenario today, we're talking about the situation where you guys are still living together, getting a lot of that. And we've been in the lockdown. Some people have realized, okay, I don't want to go back into the office to work, but I don't want to stay in this house with you. Okay. I'm getting a whole new life, whole new relationship, whole new job, whole new career, whole new me. This era is done. Okay. But in the scenario that we're talking about, for whatever reason, the done does not mean that someone is packed up and left, maybe because you're planning and you want to move carefully, smartly, and develop a strategy. Sometimes it's just because people can't afford to do it. You can't afford to do it. There are some remedies, for you, but there's some things that I want you to just know to consider in this situation. And this is not going to be a long video today because I got some emergency motion and hearings coming up that I have to prepare for. So it's all about emotionally reading the situation. My greatest concern is the situation where this temperature between you and your mate or your spouse is high. and that there are a lot of arguments, that the situation is escalating in terms of arguments, things like that. Those are the things we're looking for. Those are the things we're concerned about. So making sure that you have a grasp on emotionally what's going on, because if you guys are banging it out, for instance, there's a scenario where, husband has been caught red-handed cheating, okay? And it is a war. You have to really watch out for the escalation of violence, because you guys are not having that cooling off period. The part of separating in the divorce is designed to allow the cooling off period so cooler heads can prevail. You want the cooling off period before you really go through the divorce, because it's just a wise thing to do. It's a very it's expensive. It can be an expensive process if the emotions are not in check and you are still struggling with what is going on and you haven't gone to that first step of accepting where you are and moving forward. If there is not an acceptance of where you are, and usually time does well, therapy does well to help you get there and accept where you are so that you can move forward. If you're in the, it shouldn't have happened, I can't believe it happened, how did this happen, I can't believe it happened, my marriage, and that takes time. That's why sometimes there is that cooling off period. Now, that's my greatest concern about people being in the same home while going through a divorce and separation. Some people on the other extreme, there are couples that have been coexisting and cohabitating for a long time. Those just kind of marriages in form, but not in substance. So people have been living on one end of the house and on the other end of the house, and they've been doing that for a long time. Not an issue there. It's already an amicable situation. In that scenario, people have both come to their terms and understandings about where they are in terms of this marriage emotionally. They're not tied to it. They're not attached to it. They're not going to argue about it. They just need to go ahead and take the steps. I'll start with that example. At the end of the day, in Maryland at least, without that separation time or any other the grounds of divorce that we've talked about before, you're going to need to be able to come up with a written agreement. Now, this is the best way forward. It's the most economical. It's the most amicable. So this is why I say you must have a temperature read on the situation, because if someone's flipping out and wilding out and cussing and still mad as hell, I don't think they're in the mode to sit down and do the written agreement, or, at some point later, but what you're looking for, and I don't want you getting into a scenario where you're getting, the police are being called. Okay, I have another scenario. People are living together. One person wants the other person out of the house. Like, once you out, once you gone, go. Other person's like, no, I got rights, I got entitlements. And the other day, the police are called. Okay, we don't need to be calling the police. You want to avoid that scenario. You don't know how that scenario will turn out if it's escalated. Police come, somebody not being able to manage their emotions with response to, the police being there, which can heighten a situation. And that's where things happen. Those are scenarios where that has happened in DC, where I know for sure, it was a domestic situation. A lot of domestic situations go left when the police are called, because sometimes people don't respond in a way that the police want. They're not there. This is not what they do. Family law is real emotional. It is regular people going through their lives and it's usually their worst day. A relationship can bring out the worst in anybody, myself included. So, you have the propensity for this clash, and then you're calling the police and their job is to squelch it. It might not be de-escalated, but it's going to be handled. And I don't know who could be rolling out of here in handcuffs, but it could be the same person that called the police. It has happened. So I really am concerned about managing the space. So if you're going to do this, right, and if you're seeing, you're going to have to decide whether it's a good idea to do it or not. Firstly, because I've seen a lot of times this could go left. I don't want that. And then if you have children in the house, somebody don't. So the main concern, and this is where I'll leave it for you today. The main concern is whether you will lose or whether it'll be some sort of negative towards you in the future when you're making a claim. Now, as it relates to the edifice itself, the house itself, there could be an issue of possession, and I can't really, and this is why you got to do the consultation. You don't have to, but I think you would want to know. It's really nuanced, but distinguishing between whoever is primarily responsible for the kids can petition the court that they have sole use and possession. Sole use and possession. Use and possession does not mean ownership and equity. Okay, sometimes the clients will get that confused. So I don't want you to worry about that, but you could be losing use and possession of the house. So the court can make a determination if there's kids involved, and this is typically for the benefit of the primary caretaker of the kids. So there's other layers of this analysis. Who's the primary caretaker? And then I'll just squelch this one too. I get a lot of questions about, well, I can't afford, what if I gotta leave, and will I have to pay for the mortgage or rent at the marital home plus where I'm going? This is why we have to sit down and have the conversation and come up with a strategy. Y'all know what I'm about to do. Y'all see me leaning over here. You know it's coming. So that's how you reach me, because we need to develop an exit strategy that makes sense, that we can sit down and go through and answer these questions, because this is happening. I'm not making this up. This is really happening behind closed doors. It's intimate. You might not know what your neighbor's going through, nor should you. But from my lens, it's happening quite a bit. So I want everyone to be safe. I don't want any of us taken out of here unnecessarily because of heightened emotions. And let's do the consultation, figure out what you need, that it's the best interest for your children, because you definitely don't want them in the midst of a whole bunch of toxic air being blown across the airwaves of the house. And they're hearing their parents tear each other down, and things like adultery and brokenheartedness really just brings out sometimes the worst in people. That's why a lot of people don't want to do family law, because it is regular good old people on their worst day really suffering. And for some great reason, I have been called to do this work to help with the transition, again, to get you through this process, so that you're, with trying to mitigate the unintended negative consequences, of going through a divorce, getting you through, so that we can keep you, together, so that you can move forward in time and not lose hope and love, and get what you're supposed to get out of this divorce and not feel cheated. I mean, to some degree, you're not going to want to be going through this process, but if you need, a hand to make sure you get through it, the unwanted circumstance, that's, I pray about it a lot. Like, whoa, this is what I'm called to do. And apparently it's been 10 years and I'm still here doing it, because I really know how difficult it is to maintain and have a happy, loving relationship. And I know how near and dear and important it is to our well-being, to our goals, just as being humans. We are social creatures. We want this to work. And I know how it sucks when it doesn't. But also know too that you can use this experience as a pivotal point to really develop the kind of relationship that you thought you had, that you wanted. There's all that possibility waiting for you on the other side, devoid of anything that anybody says. Why not? The only thing that would determine not for you would be that decision that you make. And I want to support you so you don't make that decision against your future happiness, and we get you through. So that's all I got to say. I know time is of the essence. We're all busy. Hopefully you're, enjoying the summer. You're probably at work right now, probably in your own Zoom meeting, probably doing whatever you got to do. Because I'm hearing Americans do not want to go back to the office. We are still social distancing, and I think we're getting used to it. So I was wondering what part of this would be long lasting, but I think us appreciating our personal space to a large degree is one of the impacts, so we'll see what happens. I'm enjoying the Olympics. It is going, it's happening, and I'm enjoying it. All the races, congratulations to all of the athletes. it's a tough Olympics, again, in this odd scenario. So everyone's doing their best, but they're putting on a great race and a great show despite the pandemic. So congratulations to all of them. And hopefully you guys are enjoying yourselves. You see me out there trying to do a little something, keep myself active. These 40s is trying to work on this metabolism, but I'm gonna fight a good fight, y'all. I'm worked out this morning. I'm gonna continue to work out because I'm not giving up. You know what I mean? So root for me, cheer me on, because as you can see, as we progress and become more refined and have more abundance, there's a balance to that. So nonetheless, I think I'm doing pretty good. So anyway, if you guys need me, I'm going to stop this thing from scrolling right now because all the details are in the description below. So you guys have a good day, and I will check in with you soon. Take care. Bye.
I'm Carmise Graves, and I practice family law in the Washington, D.C. area.